Good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Antonio again, following up from last week's conversation around cleansing and seasonal changes and things this time of year. And I wanted to check in with you all to see how you're doing and if you've had any thoughts considering what I shared last week. I also just wanted to go a little deeper to some extent with this process. Wanted to know if any of you have started a cleanse or considering starting a cleanse, so on and so forth. And again, this is one of the best times of the year to do such things. You can cleanse at other times of the year, but during the transitions is usually the best time of year. And then it also depends on the nature of your constitution. So, for example, if you're more kapha predominant, then for sure you will greatly benefit from cleansing, especially more advanced or strong types of cleansing. And if you're more of a pitta predominant person, then of course the cleansing, especially this time of year, would be great because we're letting go of the excess heat that might have been accumulated during the summer months. And if you're more of a vata predominant person, which we're going into vata season, it's a good time of year also for vata people to do certain cleanses. Now it's understood in Ayurveda in general that vata pitta predominant people tend to struggle with or deal with levels of depletion that can perpetuate or create certain levels of conditions. And in this case, especially for vata, before cleansing someone who's already generally or genuinely depleted, it's contraindicated to do your typical fasting and cleansing. The cleansing has to be very strategic in a person that is more depleted to begin with. Otherwise, you don't have the metabolic, digestive capacity to process some of the information as far as what the diet might entail, herbs, supplements, etc., purging, etc. And so that's something that requires some extreme awareness and care. But the pitta predominant person, it would be ideal to do certain cleansing this time of year that supports their constitutional makeup and heat predominant, and so certain flushing and things like that. But all of these things have to be done strategically. And as I mentioned previously, oh, greetings from the Philippines. Hello. As I mentioned previously, in Ayurveda, generally, there are two considerations. There's Shodhana, which is deep purification, which tends to correlate to what we know in Ayurvedic medicine as Panchakarma, which is a very strong, aggressive process that involves more than 30 days, if it's really done properly, to go deeper and to expel the levels of the doshic involvement. And so that's very, very profound and very intense, and not everyone will qualify for that. And then we have shamana, which is basic palliative therapies that are done on a regular basis to help sort of reduce the slow development and or chip away at what might have been developed at a certain level and maintain a certain level of homeostasis by shamana, which is palliative practices. And this is just simply incorporating the proper diet, lifestyle choices, practices, sleep, exercise, etc., supplements to support this process. And so understanding the doshic type, vata, pitta, and kapha, understanding what the agni, the digestive capacity is, the metabolic process is, these are important components, especially the metabolism, in considering a cleanse. And so last week, as I mentioned, we discussed the koshta to shaka, so the digestive visceral organs, the immediate digestive tract from mouth to alimentary canal to the rectum, and then the shaka, which is the soft tissue in which depends on the digestive system. In fact, everything depends on the digestive system, immune system, so immunological system, respiratory system, cardiovascular system, neurological system, endocrinological system. All the systems depend on the main central channel, which is the digestive system. So if there's a dysfunction in the digestive system, this will perpetuate and or create the onset of doshic imbalances, going to the next levels of pathology, creating a disease process. And so in Ayurveda, when we do Shodhana Chikitsa, which is Panchakarma, we're activating the body in such a way, aggressively, opening up the digestive system so that when we go into the shaka and remove what's in the extremities, in the tissues that have been formed, we retreat that information into the digestive system to expel it from various avenues of expression, whether in Ayurveda we know as the five actions of basti, and Varechana, and Nasya, and Vamana, and Raktamoksha, like the different cleansing avenues, deep cleansing avenues. And it's important to know that when we're doing a cleanse, what some people call detoxing, as I've mentioned previously, it has to be done properly. And it's different systems have to be in place to support that. If not, you're just moving sludge around. And then you're wondering why you're sick or why you might feel better immediately. And then 6 weeks later, you're like, I just did this cleanse, but why do I feel sicker? And sometimes part of that process is because people do a cleanse and then immediately jump into their negative behaviors that they were doing before that created the reason why they needed a cleanse to begin with. And that's not how this works. When you create a certain level of openness and you're strengthening and clearing out the body, cleaning up the house, it's like imagine in your house you did this really thorough cleaning of all the rooms and all the furniture and the floor and the ceiling and all of these things, and then all of a sudden you just come back in and throw stuff around and you throw dirt around. You're going to be more sensitive to it. You might be able to process a little bit more easily, but again, the way conditions develop is usually because of accumulation, one layer at a time. And it's about the small things that create the big things. And it's important to consider this. And what are you doing in your lifestyle? What are you doing in your diet? What is the quality of sleep? What is the quality of the diet? What is the quality of exercise? Are you exercising? Are you getting outside? And it's important to really understand this. And incorporating this process of cleansing really requires a certain level of discipline. So it's contraindicated to do cleansing and fasting and detoxing and all these things when you're still running into the thick of work and or staying up late and all of these things. You're not maximizing the potential and you're actually causing more distress upon the body. You're expecting it to do one thing when you're not providing it with its fullest attention, in its full attention, and you're throwing things around. It just creates a lot more stress on the nervous system. So very often I've had to correct people that are on cleanses and detoxing because I understand that people rely on Dr. Google a lot. Or they walk into Whole Foods and they see some table that says 30-day cleanse or some packaged protocol that may or may not work for some people. And there are reasons why in Ayurveda we know that it may or may not work for some people. And there is no one size fits all in Ayurveda. That's why when I, as an Ayurvedic clinician, we're designed to meet with each person individually, assess where they're at, their whole picture, and then determine what is the proper cleanse, how deep should it go, how long should it last for optimal outcome, etc., etc. Once you start working with an Ayurvedic doctor, you're starting a journey. So to pull out a couple weeks later is contraindicated. It will cause more harm to the person who starts something, gets certain things put into motion, stops it, and then goes back into other patterns or thinking that they're going to use other resources. This is an unveiling process and can cause harm. And then by doing those kind of things, Ayurveda gets harmed because there's a disservice that's done to Ayurveda, thinking Ayurveda does not work. But it really is about working the process. It's working any process. What are you working? Are you working your process? Even if it's not Ayurveda and you're doing the elimination diet protocol, or you're doing, any of the fad diets like the Weight Watchers or the keto diet or things like that, are you really working the program properly? Are you really putting your effort in to really work the process? You have to put your effort in. I know it's hard, but the rewards will by far and greatly weigh out the disadvantages in the long run because you'll have your health to thank for and your body will thank you. And the more in alignment you are with such things like seasonal practices of cleansing, etc., and daily practices of waking up and going to sleep and keeping things consistent, in the long run you'll need less medication, you'll need to have less intervention from the Western medical system, which is great because that saves you time, energy, and co-payments. Ayurveda is great that way. It just takes time sometimes. So anyways, I just wanted to follow up with last week's conversation, and I am open to working with new people. Always, always, always. I love following the adventure that we're all on when we meet together and see where this goes and where this takes you. And I feel very humbled by the vulnerability that is expressed in the interactions with each of my patients. And it's a really beautiful gift for me. Every day it's a blessing. So feel free to private message me. I do work through telehealth. I do work through Zoom. So I reach people around the globe as needed. And with time differences factored in and et cetera, Ayurveda is universal, so it can reach anyone, anywhere, at any time. Feel free to contact me if you're interested in working with me, and stay tuned for other talks, and also view other talks that I've done here on Facebook and on my YouTube channel under Antonio Aragona. And until next time, have a great day. Happy digesting. Namaste.